The recording has begun. It's picking up any audio in the room, and it's not doing video, it's just doing whatever happens on the projection. Okay, so it's not going to be your faces. If I want to get your faces, I have to use my phone. Let's see. Put the selfie skills to the test. Go dogs! Thanks. Okay. So I'm just here to give you a really brief, high-level overview of what it takes to succeed as a biology major. We're going to talk about coursework, I'm going to talk about some extracurricular activities, and we'll see how we do. Oh, I see the department has put in the obligatory diversity of life. We don't have to look at this slide. We can look around the room and appreciate the diversity that's present in life. This is what we study in biology, right? Biology, the study of living things. It goes beyond those of you that want to be pre-med, pre-dental, pre-vet, pre-optometry, pre-clinical health sciences, pre-pharmacy. We even have people that study trees. And no. No? Most of the doctors are saying, why do I need to care about trees? Okay, well, how about viruses, bacteria? Right? We're all related. We all have DNA, we all live, we all die, we all reproduce, we're all living things. That's what we study, that's what gets us excited and up in the morning. So, as you heard in the introduction, I'm a professor of biology. I teach mainly genetics and evolution, which are two classes that every one of you as a biology major will have to take at some point. It doesn't necessarily mean for me, but those are two classes that the department requires all of our majors to have. So at some point, you'll wind up studying a lot of this material. This is just a really brief overview of what I'm going to tell you today. I'm going to skip over the what to do with the degree pretty quickly, but we're going to talk about the program, general advising, what classes to take, and then some tips and what to do outside of the classroom when you have time. So most of you look like we're here. You can do healthcare. We have so many students that do so many things other than being a physician. And the cool thing is that a lot of you will wind up going in, as I did when I was a university student, thinking that you're pre-med and then deciding, hey, this other thing is a lot cooler or a lot more interesting. And so you might wind up going farther down this list. So for example, I worked for a little while at a biotechnology company, growing human cells in dishes, until I realized that I hated working 8 to 5 Monday through Sunday, and then some overtime beyond that. I was working with a startup company. So it's not the only way that this works, but you make good money doing biotechnology, you do CSI-style stuff and collect DNA and analyze DNA from crime scenes. But we also have a really huge need in the country, especially these days, for helping our politicians build policies that are friendly to biology. And I'm not talking necessarily about preserving the Delta smelt, because there's a huge fight there between water resources and the smelt, but there are also issues like global warming and how those issues affect biology. So, for example, and just so you know, most of us that are faculty members in biology have our own research labs in the Science One building on campus. And we're all looking for students, or most of us are looking for students to come do research with us in our laboratories. That's outside of class. That's getting expertise working on a real scientific problem in a lab with a faculty member. And the worm I work with, this tiny microscopic worm, is a hermaphrodite. They have hermaphrodites in males, two sexes. It's not just males and females like we have in this room. There might be some hermaphrodites in the room. I shouldn't say that there aren't. But this worm is 99.9% of the individuals. If you go out into the world and you pick up a worm, it's going to be a hermaphrodite. Pretty much guarantee it. That means they self-fertilize. One organism makes its own eggs and its own sperm, has its own babies, and they live out in nature. And they don't have to bother finding a mate. That's pretty sweet. So you could be one worm stranded somewhere with no other members of your species around. They can still reproduce, have kids, make a huge family, huge population of worms out there where there were no other worms of its kind. The problem is that you've heard that you're not supposed to marry close relatives and have kids, right? Inbreeding is bad. Okay, so that's what this worm does, though. It self-reproduces. One body makes its own offspring. And it turns out that that causes it some particular challenges when it's faced with things like increasing temperatures, because that worm has adapted to life at one temperature where it lives. And if that temperature starts getting heated up and heated up and heated up, that worm doesn't have the ability to change to keep up with climate change quickly enough because it's an inbred population, self-fertilized. So these are the sorts of things that we need people to work on as well, especially helping our politicians understand how to make policies that are valuable to conserve life on Earth. I don't know if you've gotten a good sense today for how big our department is, but look around, your fellow students, your fellow first-year majors, freshmen. We are one of the largest majors on campus, maybe one of the top 3. So we have a huge role in helping you get advising and understand what to do as you go through our major. I already mentioned that we have a heavy research focus. Many of us have grants from US government entities, for example. And as I said, there are lots of opportunities for you to get involved in that if you decide to. So again, this will be recorded and on that movie, but these are your main sources of information if you want to use the web to learn more about the biology department. We've got our official website, we've got a little bit of social media. One of our assistant professors, young faculty member like me, not me, runs our Facebook and our Twitter feeds. So feel free to join on and keep up to date with what's going on the fun side of the biology department. Any questions at this point? We're about to get into the meat of the presentation. It's about coursework. Oh, and that's us. Or at least it was us a couple of years ago. That's me in the front with a t-shirt that says, "Suck it, natural selection, I'm still here." We're not all stiff. I wore a tie because it's a thing, but other days I wear shirts. Okay. Make sure that the microphone is working. Test, test. Here is what every single one of you will take as a biology major, with rare exception. You start out with Biology 1A, which is a lecture and lab course together. You spend 3 hours in lecture and then a 3-hour lab course. You've got Biology 1B and 1BL. That's a lab course. So it seems strange. Our first semester introductory course has the lecture and the lab put together in one course number. You just register for one course. You get both the lecture and the lab components at the same time. 1B and 1BL you register for as separate classes, but it's exactly the same structure. You spend some time sitting together in a big room, bigger than this, and then you spend some time in a laboratory doing hands-on things. Now, this doesn't mean that those are necessarily your first 2 semesters at Fresno State. And indeed, that's not usually the case. Usually you start with 1A the second semester of your first year. So we'll get into that in just a minute. Then, those are lower division courses, freshmen and sophomores. And then in the upper division class here, we have the upper division core series: ecology, genetics, cell biology, genetics and cell biology lab, and evolution. And again, I teach genetics and evolution, but others do as well. So you'll see a lot of us in the department in these courses. You'll get a chance to take a lot of classes from a lot of different faculty members in biology. Beyond biology, I have to tell you, though, that there are a number of courses that are not biology courses, and this always seems kind of strange. So these are the required biology courses you have to take. 7 of them. First and second semester of intro biology, and then 5 upper division classes. But then you have to take intro chemistry, intro physics, calculus, statistics, did I miss anything? Organic chemistry and biochemistry. So you take more chemistry and math your first 2 years than you do biology classes. I see some deer in the headlights like, oh my God, I thought I was getting out of biology or out of math by being a biology major. But we require you to take that first. So calculus and statistics are prerequisites for some of our courses, as are especially those chemistry courses. And this is why if you take anything away from what we're talking about right now, it's this. Chemistry 1A. That is your first and most important class to register for as soon as possible. We have to get you into Chemistry 1A first to keep you on the series of courses you have to take to graduate in a timely manner. Chem 1A. Any questions or concerns about this list so far? I know I haven't given you a lot of details about these classes. So this is the overall view of what you do. I already mentioned to you the 22 core courses you have to take. Here they are again. Those are the ones that were on the previous screen. And then we've got these additional requirements which were also on that screen, the physics, math, chemistry, and so forth. You know already about GE. I heard them talking to you about GE when I came and sat in the back of the room during the previous session. So you have 51 units of GE you have to take to graduate from Fresno State with a bachelor's degree. And then, just so you've heard it once, and you'll hear it a lot more as you go through the major, you've got this huge other major requirements. Don't freak out. It's not biggest because that's the most classes you have to take. It's only 20 units. So it's about as many classes as you have in the first couple of years you take biology classes. This is where, by usually your junior year or so, you get to pick your elective biology coursework. So this is where you customize your degree to your interests. Before this point, usually your first and your second year, you're taking all those, you have to take it, you have to take it. Intro biology, intro chemistry, math, statistics, chemistry. This is where we start getting into the really cool, small class size, upper division, elective classes that come with labs where you get in a classroom in a small group with a faculty member that's really enthusiastic about their specific thing that they teach and that they love, and that's what you do. So for example, just one that popped in off the top of my head, entomology. So for those of you that love insects, we've got a whole semester-long class on entomology where you learn about the insects, you collect insects, you analyze them, study them. So just as an example, that's the sort of thing you find from this other major requirements section. And each of these comes with a lab course. And that's what that part says. 3 upper division lab courses. One must be a diversity course, one must be a physiology course. So when the faculty were developing this whole framework for how you get a biology degree, they decided that they wanted to make sure that our students were exposed to the concept of diversity in biology with a lab component. So each of these classes, you can go into the university catalog and check them out. Biology 120, 122, 123, 124. Go look at what the names of these courses are. Figure out which one of those sound interesting to you and start planning for that in a couple of years, trying to take that course. You have to take one from the diversity group, one from the physiology group, and one additional lab course. So you wind up taking 3 of these upper division elective courses. A lecture plus a lab course together. And all together, you get your 120 units. That's the minimum required to get a bachelor's degree in the CSU system. Now, I don't know if those of you in the back can see the bottom of the slide really well. Right down here, it says, what does it say? 120 units plus more if you're pre-professional. So, pre-meds, pre-dental, pre-health sciences, pre-CLS, pre-pharmacy, pre-optometry. Those 120 units get you the piece of paper at the end of the 4 years or so. Say you've got a bachelor's degree. Those classes do not necessarily get you admissions to your next school that you want to go to, like med school. To get into med school, there are more classes that we don't require just to get a bachelor's degree that you have to take to get into medical school. This is where, for most of you, the way you were raising your hands and saying, I'm pre-this, pre-that, most of you are going to need to keep in regular touch with one of our pre-health professional advisors. We have specific faculty on campus who are experts in getting you what you need to get into medical school, dental school, vet school, whatever. Graduate school, if you want to go on and get a master's degree or a PhD. So, as you register for classes, know that if you are going to declare yourself to be a pre-health profession, you should do that soon and get advising from them, because they're going to tell you that it's not just, for example, this is just one example, it's not just Physics 2A, you also have to take Physics 2B. You have to have a year of introductory physics to get into medical school. We only require you to take the first one of the two to get a bachelor's degree. But med school will require you to have both. So that's one example of how there's additional coursework beyond the major to get into medical schools. You've heard it once. Here's the most salient slide for you. This is what optimally, ideally, this will not happen for all of you necessarily. This is ideally what you'll have your first year. Remember what I said. Your number one job is to get into chemistry 1A. So when you get a chance to register, do that first. Notice that we pair then in the spring semester chemistry 1B, the second semester of intro chemistry, with the first semester of intro biology. That's for a reason. Just because you're a biology major doesn't mean you take biology first. Take Chem 1A first. Please. This is reflected in the packet you have in front of you. We've got the model schedule printed on the first page. I don't know if it's the back, it's probably the back side of that yellow sheet. That's the biology department's recommendation for what you take every semester of a 4-year plan. A few last bullet points, and then we'll move on. If you have AP credit, that's great for some things, but not for pre-med. So often those medical schools want you to have college level, not transfer credit from high school. So talk about that with your pre-professional advisors. I already talked about needing to see a pre-professional advisor. Be advised that you can't do credit, no credit grading. There's an option here. I don't know what you might have faced in community colleges. Most of you come straight out of high school because you're first-time freshmen, you're not necessarily transferring credits. There are some classes where you get to choose, do you take A, B, C, D, F grading, or do you take pass, no pass, credit, no credit? You can't do that for major courses that count towards your major, so be aware of that. Take classes letter graded. And a great resource for you, I shouldn't have put it at the bottom of the slide, it's way down here. The Advising Resources Center. So our college, it's part of biology department majors. Our department is part of a bigger structure that you just met with, the College of Science and Mathematics. And our college, the College of Science and Mathematics, has a resource center for advising students, that's you, and they're a great first stop whenever you have an advising question. They're in Science 1, room 136, the ground floor of the Science 1 building. They have a fantastic staff. They're often able to answer most questions that you have, like, why isn't the registration system letting me register? I thought I had the prerequisites for this, and so forth. So, Advising Resources Center, Science 1. Beyond that, each of us that are teaching faculty members in the biology department are your primary major advisors. So advising in our major, this is not true of every major, but we love to have that hands-on, not physically hands-on, but mentally hands-on, contact with our students. So we don't have paid professionals who do your major advising. We, the faculty in the department, are your advisors. And what's going to happen is, as you register, the department is going to decide, based on the first letter of your last name, which one of us will be your advisor. So my 20 or so colleagues in the department. So your primary point of contact for getting advice about what classes to take, how to prepare for a future career, anything academic related, you'll be paired with one of the faculty members, a professor from the department, to get that advice. Currently, I think I'm taking last names like start with M through R or something like that. but that changes every year based on how many students come in with what letters of their last name. It's complicated, but just know that you should meet with us, not the Advising Resources Center, at least once a year, please. Help us help you stay on track by taking the right courses. Don't pick courses by yourself if you have a question. If you think, I'm not sure if I should take this, I'll just sign up for it. Please make an appointment with your advisor and see them. Let's see. You all know that you need to do hard work and manage your time effectively, right? I don't even know why this is in here. This part is important, though. Part in the middle. Yeah, you all know GPA is important. Yeah, you know you're supposed to work hard and do well. Yeah, everybody's on board with that, right? You're all here to do well and succeed. You're not just throwing your money down the drain and registering for class and you're not going to show up, right? Are you going to do the work?
Yes.
Yes?
Yes.
Thank you. So, I don't need to talk about those anymore. But this one's really important because in the biology department we have so many classes that have lab sections. You're going to spend a lot of time in lab-based courses. You're going to spend, depending on the individual, of course, you'll have different schedules like the gentleman who was up here before me showed you. Master's students, lots of evening and weekend classes. That's not for you yet, necessarily. But there's going to be a huge amount of time blocked out on your schedule just for going to lecture sections, sitting in a classroom, talking like this, and then being in laboratories, doing laboratory work. And so it's really useful to just add in one GE class every semester. Make sure every semester you take at least one. It's a balance here. At least one general ed class every semester so you've got something outside of science to do. At the same time, be very careful not to have mostly or entirely GE any one semester. Because if you do that, then you're not making progress on taking those classes you need to get the bachelor's degree in biology. Chemistry and biology almost every semester. Chemistry almost certainly every semester. I'm required to show you this, but not really required, but to remind you at least that when you have something like Chemistry 1A and 1A Lab, that's 5 units. That's a 5-unit course. So if you succeed, and this fall you're taking Chemistry 1A and 1A Lab, that's a 5-unit course. But that's 9 hours in class a week. That's 3 hours in lecture, and that's 2 3-hour labs per week. So that's like taking a Monday, Wednesday, Friday, 9 to 10 course. Plus, you're in lab from 8 to 11 Tuesday morning and 8 to 11 Thursday morning. So 9 hours for this one class, you get 5 units. And outside of that, you're supposed to study something like 2 or 3 times as long as you spend in class studying the material to prepare for exams and tests and assessments. So it helps to think about not only how many units are you earning, how much time are you spending in class, and then on top of that, not just school, but what are your family obligations, what are your work obligations? Get advice from your advisors. We don't know your situation yet, but come introduce yourselves to us, tell us about what you're dealing with, what you're facing, what your schedule is like, and help us suggest how to build a schedule and how to build a curriculum and how to schedule the number of units per semester so that it doesn't become overwhelming. The last thing we want to do is to have you as fantastic, energetic young undergraduate students in our department, and then we don't want you to slip through the cracks. We want to support you in achieving what you want to do, which is to get a bachelor's degree in biology, and there are some ways that we can help you with this. But it is important to realize when you start tallying up all of the time it's going to take to not only sit into the classes, but then also to study and to do all those outside of class things like have fun, which I'm going to tell you about next. Does that sound stupid? Am I going to tell you how to have fun? What do you think? Do you believe me? No. Well, I didn't think so. But in case this is the sort of fun you think you can have in college as a biology major, some important, this is the last slide, by the way. You can tell there are some important opportunities that you have to build your resume and to have fun. We have almost all of our pre-health organizations have a student club associated with them. It's a great place to get support and advice from your fellow students and from students who have gone before you. We have the Beta Biology Honor Society, which does a lot of social work and projects around campus. Their advisor, one of my colleagues, another professor in the biology department, Dr. Huan Yoon, is their advisor. So he's a great person to get in touch with if you're interested in the biology-based honor society and finding out what that's about. I am the faculty advisor for SACNAS, the Society for the Advancements of Chicanos and Native Americans in Science. We have a really active, as you might imagine, thriving club. We do all sorts of social work. They go out to schools and do presentations at elementary schools, hands-on activities. We do conferences, present research at conferences, and many other things. And we'd love to get you involved if you're interested. Clearly, what is not true about being a member in SACNAS? You don't have to be, what? You don't have to be that, yeah, you don't have to be Chicano or Chicana. Clearly I'm not, right? I'm a geneticist, I know a thing or two about race, and I am not. But I'm the advisor, and I'm really excited about the things that we do in this club. It's a really powerful organization that's helpful and supportive to all of the students that are in it. So I do advise you to come check us out. I already told you about doing research with faculty members in their labs. There's an easy way to do that after you get through the first year or so of the major, usually after you've taken biology 1A and 1B. You take a look at all of the different research that the faculty members are doing. The easiest way to do that is to go online at the biology department website, which most of you already wrote down the address for. We've each written a little, like, one paragraph statement about what it is we do in our labs. Like, I study hermaphroditic nematodes and why it is that they suck so much because they self-fertilize. And if you find somebody whose research really sounds interesting to you, stop by their office hours or send them an email. Dear Dr. whoever, I just read your research statement. I thought it was really interesting. I'd love to learn more about how I might be able to work one-on-one with you or in a small group with other students, usually, in your lab. A couple last things. These are not supplemental activities. This is more resources for you. I also happen to be the chairman of our department's scholarships committee, and I can tell you from that role that last spring, we gave out something like 20 or 25 scholarships specifically to biology students, totaling in the tens or hundreds of thousands of dollars. The biology department is not only one of the largest majors on campus, but we also have some of the most money that's in scholarship accounts that we have to, by law, give out to biology majors every year. And that could be you. All you have to do is sign up. Well, there's two steps. The first thing you have to do is sign up. FresnoState.academicworks.com. You can log in, you can create an account as a user, as a student, and write an application. The great thing about this online application, this is a university-wide application. It's Fresno State-wide. Every Fresno State student that wants to apply for any sort of scholarship financial aid has to fill out the university application form. And it's a computer system. It's brilliant. It takes your information and it automatically applies you for every scholarship you're already eligible for, based on what the system knows about you. Your year in school, your GPA, what courses you've taken, whatever. So it's really nice. You fill out one application, it sends it to every possible scholarship application you are eligible for. But in biology, several of our applications also require you to fill out a short essay statement. Like we have one, is anybody in here a fly fisher? Anybody into fishing? Not just fly fishing. Okay, a few of you. Fantastic. One of our scholarships, believe it or not, was left to us by a donor who wanted to support students who are interested in freshwater conservation. It's called the Fly Fisher's Scholarship. Every year we get so few people that apply, of course, because it's a very specific type of scholarship, and it requires you to write an essay that says, this is why I'm interested in freshwater conservation. Those are supplemental questions, so beyond writing this general application that's university-wide, there are some additional steps you'll have to take to apply for specific scholarships like that, where it requires you to write an additional statement, personal statement. And as biology students, at some point during the fall, you'll get an email from us, our scholarships committee, that gives you more information about that. But please look for that email. It will come out sometime this fall. The deadline for the scholarship application is usually late February. But they're under-applied for, and there are lots of scholarships, and there's a lot of money. So it's well worth your time to apply. And finally, if you're a transfer student, if you're transferring any credits, you may have already heard to go to assist.org, which will give you a little bit of information about whether or not your units can transfer and apply to biology-related courses.